Hello and welcome to our review of Veronica Mars. I'm Paul,
And I'm Dave.
and this week we're discussing the episode Plan B. This episode originally aired April 5th, 2006. So, let's start off with the number one song in America this week, Dave. Any guesses what it could be?
Hmm, what's that? Uh,
I do not remember this particular artist, at all.
okay. And it wasn't from the previous week, the gentleman, something yo.
So 2 weeks ago was Neo with So Sick. The week after that was Sean Paul with Temperature, and this week it's someone else.
Mm. Oh, okay. Uh, mm,
Apparently, it's considered pop
yeah,
rock.
yeah, the marvelous case of the multitude of different musical genres. It's just like, why do you need to put something in a box?
I don't think you're.
Nothing that specifically comes to mind.
Okay, it's a song called Bad Day by Daniel Powter. Powter.
Okay. Because just hearing that reminds me of the particular song that uses Bad Day as one of the particular lyrics, but whether or not that's actually the case with the song, I do not know.
No, he's considered a one hit wonder. Um,
Because of this song or something different?
no, apparently, this is the biggest he ever got. Oh, he grew up in
It would
Coldstream.
not
Interesting.
surprise I would not be surprised if it's that one particular case with it, because even nowadays, it's the typical song that anyone brings up for one of those. You're not having a good day, so listen to this song. So music will represent with those. But again,
Maybe.
whether or not it is the case, I'm not sure.
Yeah, apparently, his self titled debut album did really well, and then kind of just fell off after that.
Oh,
Went from selling a few 100,000 copies to not even to barely charting.
hmm. Well, the cases of going to be as or landing as a one-hit wonder, I suppose.
Yeah. His second album has the perfect title, too. It's called Under the Radar.
Ooh, ouch.
That's fucking hilarious. Anyway, let us move on to the number one film in America.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm just going to cut this short because it's the same as last week. It's Ice Age The Meltdown.
Okay, yeah, that somewhat tracks. Again, I can't specifically think of anything that could have come out of it around that time that really sort of hits more so after those sorts of things.
Next week will be an interesting
Yeah.
one. And then there's a bunch of interesting stuff after that. But this just seemed like there was nothing at this time.
Yeah, kind of the cases at the start of the year, heading into the start of spring, I suppose.
Yeah, because the summer movies aren't really coming out yet. So it's kind of just shoveling whatever they can into theaters at this point.
And or the Oscar nominees that are trying to make a place.
Yeah, or put out some family release that probably wouldn't do well in the summer, but there's nothing else, so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Let us move on to video games. We've got a couple of games here. Some interesting stuff, actually. So, March 31st, if you were living in Europe, you could pick up Animal Crossing Wild World on the Nintendo DS.
Hooray! They get to join in on the fun.
Yes. April 3rd, if you had a PSP, you could pick up James Bond 007 from Russia with Love.
Okay. Again, recognize the title cover and whatnot from it, but it's still a case of never gotten to any of the older 007 games.
Okay, So this was an interesting one because they went back and adapted, like, I think From Russia with Love is the second James Bond film.
Hmm.
Which had never, well, I'm not going to say never, it might have had like an Atari adaptation, but hadn't had like a major adaptation. It was an interesting idea, and I kind of wish they had gone back and done other older Bond films and given them adaptations, but unfortunately they
Yeah,
did
that's
not.
definitely true. And definitely the kind of the case of there was the whole switch over around that time, or the lull of the older 007 films and heading into the newer generation versions of them that they were starting to come up with.
And I feel like we hadn't got a Bond game for a while at that point.
Hmm.
Am I wrong on that? Am I wrong? Because it's been forever since we got one. Oh no, we had got a couple in the years since, but nothing. Well, Everything or Nothing was pretty good. No, there were some there.
Yeah.
And then it kind of fell off to a trickle after that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Project 007 actually comes out at some point. Anyway,
That would be good.
oh, it's made by the same people who are making the Hitman games, Dave. It's going to be incredible if it ever actually comes out. April 4th, if you had a PSP, you could pick up Bust a Move Deluxe.
Yes.
Bust a Move was always a fun puzzle game.
Yeah, that's true.
And the only other release on April 4th, if you were rocking a PS2 still, you could pick up a game called Tourist Trophy. It
More
appears...
like motorcycle racer.
Yeah, I am not familiar with this game at all.
Yeah, no, nothing.
Yeah, a lot of handheld stuff. Not much coming for the consoles this week. Although that will change next time we chat because there's some big stuff coming. Anyway, let us get on to the episode. Okay. So, Logan wins the essay contest to become Woody Goodman's intern, and Veronica taunts him about having plagiarized it because, you know, it's Logan.
Yeah.
Weevil flashes back to a conversation with Felix in which Felix talked about marrying and having kids. Weevil asks Veronica to help prove that Thumper killed Felix, but it is risky because Thumper has leverage. A video of Weevil beating up Daily Curly Morin. In study hall, Wallace and Jackie bond, and they agree to hang out together. Beaver encourages Mac to ask him to the Sadie Hawkins dance. Veronica asks Logan about the night of Felix's murder, and he says the witness drove a San Diego seafood truck. Woody assigns Logan to sort his mail, during which Logan discovers a DVD with footage secretly filmed inside Woody's house. Keith agrees to investigate. Veronica and Logan track down the truck driver, who denies seeing anything before telling them he is worried about the safety of his family. Veronica reports the dead end to Weevil, who suggests Felix was killed because of his relationship with Molly Fitzpatrick. Mac goes to Veronica for advice about why Beaver isn't trying to be intimate with her. Weevil asks Molly about Felix and gives her a toy truck he says was Felix's. To save him from being embarrassed by bullies, Jackie asks a disabled boy to the dance. Logan discovers Goodman's signature stamp at the river. Logan discovers Goodman's signature stamp. At the River Styx bar, Liam Fitzpatrick becomes enraged when Molly mentions Felix's murder. A conversation between Veronica and Weevil is recorded using a bug hidden in the toy truck. Veronica and Weevil take the recording to Sheriff Lamb, who is dismissive of their evidence. Frustrated, Weevil decides to implement Plan B. Although Veronica pleads for more time to get proof, Keith deduces that the video was recorded before Woody went public with incorporation, so he suggests another motive. Outside the Fitzpatrick's church, Weevil chloroforms Thumper and steals his bag of drug money. However, he is seen by two children. At the Sadie Hawkins dance, Gia pesters Logan because, you know. Wallace kisses Jackie, who rejects him. Jane finds out, however, she forgives Wallace and blames Jackie. Beaver resists Max pushes for intimacy. Veronica asks Logan to dance to prevent him from snapping at Gia because it's Logan, and he was annoyed.
Yeah, yeah.
Thumper tells the Fitzpatricks he lost their money, but they find it in his bike and believe he tried to cheat them. The Fitzpatricks gag him and cuff him in a urinal in an unspecified location. Woody tells Keith that a disgruntled ex-gardener shot the footage and asks for the DVD back. Keith returns it but keeps a copy. After Veronica talks to his wife, the truck driver agrees to testify against Thumper. Wallace breaks up with Jane because he still has feelings for Jackie, but Jackie spurns Wallace to protect her reputation. Mac confronts Beaver about their lack of intimacy, but this pushes him to break up with her. No! They're so cute! A demolition worker finds Thumper's motorcycle locked in the condemned stadium. As Logan depresses the plunger, Thumper is shown struggling against his cuffs in the building, and it's implied that he is to be killed when the stadium is demolished. Weevil gives confession at the church. So, what do we think of this episode, Mr. David?
Boy. Just the case of things being messed up or messed in with the Fitzpatrick's gang, messing with the Weevil's old gang and how things are sort of going with that, and just the case of, oh god, all the supposed implications that could supposedly bring up.
Yes, there is definitely going to be ramifications from some of the things that have happened in this episode. Specifically, we know that Thumper, well, we don't know, but we assume that Thumper has been killed.
Yeah.
So that will create an issue in the PCHers, most likely. Okay, so there are a couple of important things that happen in this episode that we'll quickly go over. Obviously, Thumper gets cuffed and cuffed within the men's room of the stadium that is to be exploded, and we assume he is dead. Although, again, never completely confirmed.
Yeah, true. They don't go through the process of actually showing specific things of confirmation.
Yes. That's really the biggest one that comes up. There's a couple of smaller things, but that's kind of like the most important one. Also, actually, Logan takes a piece of paper stamped with Woody Goodman's signature from his office while he's his assistant, so that could potentially come back in the future.
Yeah, because if you have the opportunity, it never hurts to seize it.
Yes, especially for Logan.
Yes.
Yes. So, that's about it for this episode. All I can say is I want Mac and Beaver to get back together because they're adorable together, and I hate the show for taking them away from us.
That's how it is, just with a couple typical things I could figure for particular reasonings of why that happened, but what can you do, I suppose?
Anyway, so next week we'll be discussing the episode I Am God. In this episode, Veronica experiences persistent and vivid nightmares of the students who died in the bus crash. She attempts to piece together the clues she's gotten from these dreams. Meanwhile, Logan and Wallace are forced to work together on a science experiment. It's going to be fun.
As much fun as having horrible recurring dreams that supposedly have those sorts of cases, so we'll have to see.
I meant more that Wallace and Logan are going to have to work together and be friendly.
They don't specifically have to be friendly. It's not exactly within the job description.
Fair, but they do have to work together at some level. And they do have I really like their chemistry on screen. I think they're really fun together. Alrighty, so if there's nothing else, I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.